listening to. I say you are listening to. You are absolutely listening to the George Espinlov Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Welcome to the show. What is this? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is Tuesday. I have an awful hard time with days. Welcome to the show this Tuesday evening here in the Funny Farm Radio studio. To my friends down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world, I'm so glad that you've decided to drop in and spend some time with us here on the Funny Farm, and I think you will enjoy it. We are waiting for our guest, Mr. Kevin Goszlota, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, to call in and be with us tonight. We're going to be discussing, amongst other things, the death of an internet activist. I'm sure that most of us have heard or read or seen something pertaining to a young man by the name of Aaron Swartz, who was actually a computer genius. And we lost him when he took his own life. It was either last week or the week before. Kevin is going to be discussing that situation, that tragedy, amongst other things, and we hope that he's able to call in. In the meantime, email me, georgece@comcast.net. That is georgece@comcast.net. georgece@comcast.net. We might put the Skype line up tonight. A little bit later on, we'll wait and see. Let me share with you before we go any further. When here's my Skype address, Duflicky, whatever they call that thing. It's George.Espinlaub, Espenlaub. Periodically, someone sends me a voice message, leaves a voice message. But more times than not, there's nothing on there. Don't be afraid to speak to me. Leave a message. If you want to hook up, if you want to be put on our contact list, then do what you're supposed to do, and then we'll do what we're supposed to do, and we'll have you on our contact list. We would love to have you. That's George.Espinlaub, Espenlaub, and we might be hooking up the Skype line a little bit later on. We'll see what happens. The other thing is, I want you to understand that we will not be responsible for any side effects that may occur due to the fact that you decided to listen to the George Espinlov Show. You've done it to yourself. We can't accept any responsibility. And yes, men, women, boys, and girls, there will be side effects. And they will vary. There is not one single side effect that strikes you. It comes in all sizes, shapes, and it comes at almost any time. So, we can't be responsible. We're glad because we all have those side effects, and we want you to have them too. The other thing is, we want to put a smile on your face, even if it's a small one, and we hope to make you as crazy as the rest of us here on the Funny Farm. My mom, Charlie, Miss Ernestine, Harvey, and the whole gang. We want you to become as crazy as the rest of us. The chat room is open. Come in and visit with me, chat with me. It just depends what I'm into, but I keep an eye on the chat room, and I'll answer your questions if I can, or just come in and say hello. If you got a question for our guest when he calls, let me know, and I'll transfer it to him. And just come on in and be an active part of the George Espinlaub Show. Here I go again. I'm trying to think and talk at the same time, and I just can't do it. While we're waiting for our guests to call in, excuse me, let's all get up, limber up, let your hair down, kick your chair back, get a hold of somebody, and if no one's around, just do it all by yourself. We want you to tap your fingers, tap your feet, snap your fingers, bob your head, and shake your booty.
It's all that I know, and it's all that I ever know. But who's gonna search my soul? If the Godhead is dead, I'll be staying in bed. 'Cause then who would we count on instead? You can lay down the stone through the bricks of my bones and throw me down holes that my brain can't control. And tell me I'm not alone when I'm alone. I'm at the bottom of the ladder and I need it so badly. I'm at the bottom of the ladder and I need it so badly. I'm at the bottom of the ladder and I need it so badly. I'm at the bottom of the ladder and I need it so badly.
All right. We want you to sit down and listen very carefully to what our guest has to say. It's my honor and my privilege to introduce to you Mr. Kevin Goszlota. Am I saying that right, Kevin?
Yes.
Man, I'm not too good with last names, including my own. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Okay. I'm a journalist with FiredogLake.com, and I cover civil liberties and national security issues. I have a story that I've been regularly covering that sort of connects with what we might be talking about, but I've been regularly going to Fort Meade to cover PFC Briley Manning's court-martial. He's the soldier accused of releasing classified information to WikiLeaks. So a lot of the topics and issues I tend to cover involve whistleblowing and transparency, secrecy, and different things related to those topics.
Great. With the death of Aaron Swartz, and for those folks that are listening that that never heard of him or don't know anything about him. Could you tell us a little bit about Aaron Swartz?
Sure. So Aaron Swartz is he was 26 years old, and he committed suicide just well over a week ago, and he was considered to be quite an influential person in internet freedom activism, and he was very, very smart and tech savvy, responsible for developing something that many people use today, though technically, if they heard it, they probably wouldn't know what it was, but he developed RSS, and that is something that enables a lot of people to see updates on their blogs, to see news stories and updates on sites as they roll in, and he helped develop that technology. And he fought the Stop Online Piracy Act when it came through. I remember a lot of websites decided to black out their internet sites. Wikipedia joined in this, and others, and because they believed this was a piece of legislation that was going to lead to censorship of content online, and so Aaron was a key player. Working with a group called Demand Progress, he helped start Reddit, which is this major internet website where people post stories and they engage in it's a social networking type of a site where people connect with each other on stories, and people can submit their content from outside mainstream or establishment news, and those stories can get wide attention. So it's a great place for people to go who don't already have a built-in audience, if they're like a reporter on MSNBC or something like that. And so this is what Aaron was doing. He was quite a profound individual.
He started very young, didn't he?
Yes, I believe he started to gain recognition for being smart when he was about 14 years old.
Mm. So we could almost call him a computer genius, one of those fellows that just knows how to get things done.
Yeah, and I think he's also been called a prodigy by some other people.
Now he was busted or charged by the government for hacking. Is that correct?
That is correct. The government accused him of hacking, and he actually had two indictments. So first off, in January 2011, he had 4 felony charges that he was slapped with, and we can get into what he was alleged to have done. But he just to begin, he had 4 felony counts, and then it was later expanded. In fact, the government came back and added 9 more charges, so the count went up to 13 felonies that he faced. So that's what he was saw coming down the pike here. He was going to have to go on trial, charged with 13 felonies, and that contributed to what he was experiencing and what led up to his suicide.
Now, what did he actually do that was wrong?
Well, the government, in their mind, they chose to go after Aaron and prosecute him. And what they believe he did was steal information. So the act, factually, regardless of whether you think it was a crime or not, is that he went into a closet at MIT and he had a computer. He rigged it so that it could begin to pull articles off of an academic database called JSTOR, owned by JSTOR, mostly academic journals, scientific magazine articles, etc. in this database, and was pulling all of this because he had this ideal that he believed in, that the information was power, and he thought this knowledge that was behind this, you had to have a password to get into this database in order to have access. He had access himself, and so he wanted to be able to pull this information and share it with people. Now, he rigged the computer with a script so that he could pull off thousands of articles quickly, so that it wouldn't take so long to just go and grab it one by one. Now, the government says that he stole these articles, and they indicted him for that, and were intent on putting him on trial for this alleged crime. And the truth, or the other side that people should understand, is that the network was open. Aaron didn't have to manipulate or break his way in to get access to the database. He basically took advantage of a loophole that existed in MIT's system. It's one of the most open networks. There was an expert witness that was going to testify about this, and he would have said, as someone who had investigated actual hacking before, that this really didn't look like a hack. He hadn't actually done anything to the system that was damaging. He also, this material that he took, it wasn't anything that he intended to sell, and it wasn't damaging to any people that he would have taken this information. He wasn't stealing credit card information or anybody's personal data. So that's something to be clear. And then I'll just finish up by saying that the JSTOR actually came to Aaron, or Aaron went to JSTOR, and they met and they squared away everything and came to an understanding. And he took the content he had, he handed it back to them in some way, and everything was settled. And they weren't interested in pursuing a trial, but the government was. And in fact, as we're finding in the last week or two, MIT was actually actively involved and was on board with the investigation.
Now, I guess the big question is, why did the government go after him? I mean, was he a target because he was who he was and did what he did, or just why did they go after him?
It appears that he was an easy target. It was someone that, as we're finding out about this prosecutor, this attorney out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts, was a person, an individual, who the person who was bringing the case for the U.S. Attorney's Office wanted to see his name in the newspaper. He wanted the publicity, the glory of going after Aaron Swartz. And I also think that they wanted the precedent of being able to convict Aaron of this crime, because it would give them a lot of power in the digital age to go after people who weren't respecting. I'll just say that a lot of people right now culturally believe in sharing. Many who are on the internet, not that they don't respect people's ownership of the things they write, it's just that a lot of people they believe that information should be shared, that the more people have access, it makes makes society better for people to be able to get to information. And I think that what was going on here is that there's quite an influence that the intellectual property lobby has on government, and I think this was a case that they wanted. So this is why I think it's fair to describe people behind this as copyright hawks would have had quite an interest in seeing Aaron convicted.
Now, these materials that he allegedly stole, according to the government, excuse me, they were nothing to do with national security or that was going to burn anybody. They were what, scientific papers, did you say?
Yeah, it's an academic database. So you've got professors, academics who write their own writings, and they share their work through this database.
So, do you feel do you feel that the government will try, or are they trying, to take over the internet?
I don't personally feel that the government is singularly going to be able to take over the internet. I do believe that there is a great power that corporations and government together have to control what is going on if people do not step in and make it clear to government, make it clear to corporations that they are not going to tolerate the change of how the internet works right now. It's a pretty open platform. People get to do a lot of things on the internet that allows for people to connect. You can do a lot of very good organizing, and people who use the internet are able to benefit greatly. I count myself as one of those people who would not be employed if I did not have open access to the internet. So the fear is that if you have the government and corporations working together to clamp down and restrict what's going on in certain ways, that you take away that openness. You take away that thing that has made the internet a great piece of technology that people have been able to take advantage of in the last decade or so.
Now, they charged him back in, would you say, January of 2011?
Yeah.
And this went on up until the time of his death, right?
Yes, yeah. So he knows he's the target, this whole entire time he knows, and that has a real impact. In fact, there's, it was a girlfriend, I believe, who wrote a post talking about how he left her because he didn't want to have anything happen to her and was ashamed of the sort of, what was being experienced. Becoming a government target is quite, it's something that people have a real tough time dealing with. I mean, nobody wants to go through that, and when you realize what you're being subjected to, Aaron, it's clear, wanted to protect other people from having to experience what he was experiencing, and he was also ashamed of it as well, which I think is one of the most sad parts about the fact that he committed suicide is that he did not really want to reach out and call other people who were his friends and let them know that he needed some help. He didn't want to take money from anybody, and that was why he was so afraid of what the government was going to do to him, how they were going to drag him into the courtroom, because he wasn't sure how he was going to get out of all this, and the fact that he was going to become a convicted felon, and he definitely did not want that to happen at all.
How great! I was reading where family members, or maybe it was his girlfriend, that attributed his death to the severe harassment of the government. They just, like a hound dog, they started barking and they just wouldn't quit.
Yes, yeah. The family in their statement, they put responsibility on the government. Aaron, no matter what people say, a couple friends said he had been struggling with depression, but regardless of whatever he was dealing with physically and mentally, he would not have been contemplating suicide if if the government had chosen to leave him alone, which is something they had the opportunity to do, and it's something that when JSTOR said we don't want the trial, and they're the ones who had their property violated, then they had the choice to leave Aaron alone, and they went ahead anyways and prosecuted.
And so we lost a highly intelligent young man that Well, God only knows what else he could have done in his life with the internet.
Yep, that is the truth.
He was what, 26 years old?
Yes, he was 26 years old.
That is a shame. Tell us some other interesting things that you do. I was reading some of your stuff and reading about you. You're quite an interesting individual. And some of these things that you're into is, well, most people have never delved into them or been any part of anything like this. So if you would, tell us some of the things that you're involved in.
Well, I can connect this to Aaron, sort of. I'm regularly covering the trial of Bradley Manning right now. I'd say one of the people who has produced the most coverage of this court-martial, which is the biggest U.S. military justice case in history. And there's a connection to be drawn between Aaron and Bradley Manning here, because both, if you read about, find out, both believed in the power of information. And Aaron was saying, if you have access to information and you have a password and you're in your workplace and you can freeze some of it and then post it somewhere so that others who don't have that kind of access can read it, you should do that so more people can benefit. It doesn't remain in the control of private owners. Bradley was an intelligence analyst in Baghdad, Iraq, and when he was working, he operated and did all his work in Iraq on a SIPRNet, which is a secret network of classified information. Mm-hmm. And he was reading it, and he came across a video of an Apache helicopter attack in Iraq, where a Reuters journalist is gunned down, and there are other people are gunned down. It became known as the collateral murder video released by WikiLeaks, and he had read about this in another newspaper, and what he was seeing on the video didn't seem to match what the official statements were of the U.S. government. So it bothered him. It's something he thought people in the world should see. It shouldn't remain concealed. He realized that there were other sets of documents. He knew that there were logs, military reports from Afghanistan and Iraq that had daily incident reports of what was going on in the wars. He knew there was a whole set of embassy cables from the State Department describing the different diplomatic dealings between the different U.S. embassies and what we do in foreign countries around the world. And he was reading some things in there that bothered him, and he wanted to start worldwide discussion about this information, and he didn't believe that these sets were something that should have remained secret. And so he's alleged to have gone ahead and provided this information to the WikiLeaks organization, and based on his idealism. And now what you're seeing, to keep the parallel going between him and Aaron Swartz, is this incredible prosecutorial overreach, with the government now alleging in court that what he did was actually aid Al-Qaeda by releasing this information. Based on the sheer simplicity of their argument, and is that because the information was available on the internet, then someone in Al-Qaeda could take that information, attach it to a letter, give it to Osama bin Laden, and then he would be able to read it, and all those other people would be able to read it, and they would be able to use it for whatever purpose they wanted. It's completely bogus and extreme, but it's worse than what they were trying to do to Aaron Swartz in many ways, because this means that Bradley could be in jail for life. But it's similar in the sense that they're trying to make an example out of him.
Now, let me ask you this. Aaron Swartz, when he took his stuff, or supposedly took this stuff, it was articles and magazine articles, so on and so forth, written by the academia. Manning, he was working on a secret supernet that was designed specifically for the military. Is that right? Or the government?
This is correct.
So when Aaron was doing his thing, there was no national security involved. Nobody could get burnt. But yet when Manning was doing this, was this so much classified that it was top secret, or was it?
None of the information. Well, sorry, none of the information was top secret.
So, was he giving away things like troop movements and logistics and battle reports and so on and so forth?
No.
Okay. So isn't there a line somewhere? I mean, here's a fella that obviously he had a top secret clearance. He was working in a very sensitive position, and if he wasn't happy with what he was seeing, why couldn't he? If there was any wrongdoing, if something wasn't collaborated with what the government said and actually took place, why couldn't he have become a whistleblower instead of leaking this material?
Well, I think there's two things that people listening to this should hear. First, that he did go to his superior officer. I can't say whether it was before he had allegedly leaked the material or not. I don't know that for certain, but we know that Manning went to a superior officer sometime and told this officer that he was upset because he had translated a book that was on the person, was on an individual that was being transferred to a prison and was likely to be tortured. And he translated this, and he realized that this thing he translated had nothing to do with terrorism. It wasn't anything that you should be concerned about. And what he ended up doing, what the superior officer said to Manning was basically to shoo him and say run along and get me some more detainees. And he basically did not care about this concern that there were these individuals who were being turned over and tortured by Iraqi police, which is this is actually in some of the documents released. These revelations about the extent to which this was happening, and so he could have gone to his superior and he could have told the officers that he's looking up information and he's seen wrongdoing and he believes that people outside in the United States and other parts of the world should get to read this information. And if he had done that, we would not have been able to see this information ever because his security clearance would have been revoked and he would have been removed from his position as an intelligence analyst, and he probably would have been put on some kind of like janitor duty, or he would have been in job of like doing dishwashing or some kind of job where he was not having any contact with computers because they would have been very concerned about what could happen with the information. And I'll just add that I think he did believe that he was engaged in whistleblowing. As he understood the WikiLeaks organization, he was going to pass the information on, and they were going to release it for him. So I don't think he believed that WikiLeaks was anything different than like the New York Times, I think what makes it new and different is that this is an organization that has a connection to like the hacker culture, and it typically this sort of organization isn't a standard news operation, but people need to understand that it should enjoy all of the benefits of a New York Times organization.
Now, in years past, we've had men that have been charged with spying that was in the military. Right off the top of my head, I think of the Walker boys, who served for years in the United States Navy and was giving very sensitive material to the Soviets. Isn't this the same thing?
No, I mean, he never passed on the information to any people who were enemies of the United States. Although, the government alleges he indirectly provided information, but this charge that he's faced with of aiding the enemy, a capital offense, which carries life in prison without parole, is a charge that historically all soldiers have been faced with when there's actual evidence that they went to that enemy and handed the information over physically. So in the past, you've seen most of the time that they would have these papers, and maybe they would just put them in the hands of the other guy, and then that would be the exchange. That would be aiding the enemy. Or you've seen some, actually the government says there's a case during the Civil War where someone posted a military roster in a newspaper, and it was supposed to be like a signal to soldiers who were fighting in the U.S. Civil War. So that the one soldier was tried for aiding the enemy. But you've never had it like this, where the same could be said about there's an author, a very well-known author, Bob Woodward, who's written many books with secrets, with information that was not previously known. I don't know if it's classified, but definitely sensitive national security information in some cases. And you've actually had Al Qaeda before say that they benefited, they appreciated being able to read Bob Woodward's book. But Bob Woodward isn't going to go on trial, and I would say it's a little similar here. Bradley Manning shouldn't be charged. So, and let me say that I'm not suggesting that Bradley Manning didn't violate military code. It's quite clear that he has obligations while he's in the military, that he was to protect the classified information. But in the same case with Aaron Swartz, and in the case with other people who are doing things because they believe in some higher idealism, I would say that the Justice Department or the military in this particular case has a choice to pursue somebody fiercely or zealously and to overcharge them. And I think that it's pretty clear in this case, as it is incredibly obvious in the Aaron Swartz case, that there is prosecutorial overreach with people going so far to make an example out of somebody.
Oh, I definitely believe that's taking place. Probably more so than any one of us realizes across this country. But my question is this, and I'm not refuting what you're saying. It's just that I have these questions.
Yeah.
He was in the military. He had a top secret clearance.
No, actually, he just had a secret clearance. It's a secret level clearance.
Okay. But regardless, whether it was top secret or another type of clearance, he was in the military, and he was prone to the military's code of justice. And
Yeah.
it seems like, and if I'm wrong, correct me, because I really want to know, that he saw these materials and he kind of picked, it was like pick and choose to what he was going to leak out and what was going to stay. Am I right, or am I way out in left field?
Well, I mean, it's actually interesting that you would make that conclusion on your own, because that's part of the defense that his defense is making or wants to make in the court-martial, that he was selective in what he leaked, and that there were other documents he could have released had he wanted to that would have done damage, that perhaps had troop movement and other things that could be used by an enemy to do real damage to people who were in fields of combat. But he did not do that. And so I think that it's important what you raised there, because we have to understand that the secret network of classified information that he had access to has, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of documents, many sets, not just limited to the 4 or 5 sets that he is alleged to have released.
When he released these, was he doing similar to what Aaron did, where would you say you don't take one or two at a time, you take a whole bunch? Was he set up like that too?
Well, what the government's presented, because they now everything's so advanced, and when you do an investigation, you can do full forensics on the computers to show how the crime is committed, the alleged crimes are committed. And, of course, he's accused of moving this to WikiLeaks, and they've shown that he used a piece of software called WGET, and it actually allowed the transfer to be sped up, I believe, so that that he could move this information along more quickly, and that was something he used.
Am I wrong, or am I missing it? Now, look, I'm one of them senior citizens, and I have brain cramps now and then. But am I missing? There hasn't been, or I haven't seen or heard much about this court-martial going on, or am I totally missing it, Kevin?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, let's compare it, and I didn't live through it, but let's compare it to what I know about the previous case of Daniel Ellsberg in the 70s with the release of the Pentagon Papers, and it's not it's not out of line to draw this comparison, because then there were quite a lot of media promoting and talking about the way that the government was going after Ellsberg, and they were covering how Richard Nixon's opinions and everything around that, and then now this is a huge military justice case. What they're doing is very new, and typically they have not tried soldiers like this before. I've heard this myself in court from the judge, that she's going to have to perhaps write her own interpretations of the law. So there's to a basic person, you can understand that as meaning that the judge can't come up with any cases like this in history that have happened like this, and so she's going to have to determine whether Bradley is innocent or guilty based on her own conclusions, without necessarily relying on previous military cases in some of her ruling, her final decision on whether to convict. And so, yeah, you're correct. Like, there should be much more coverage of what is happening with this court-martial. But there, especially on, like, the network news and even on cable, and then the newspapers, print, it gets very little mention. You have to be on the internet. You have to be out in that world in order to realize that there are things happening in this court-martial.
How many? Is there some major networks and major news outlets there in Fort Meade covering this too?
Yes, and they are, they're doing some pretty good work. One of the news wires, Associated Press, another news wire, Agence France Presse, CNN has been there, NBC has had people, ABC, there's been some foreign press, Al Jazeera, there's been the press from some outlet from Spain has been there. There's been The Guardian from the United Kingdom has been there, covering every now and then. And then there's been independent journalists, and there's been, I'm an alternative media person, so I've been there from the blog that I write for, and we've all been there covering. The New York Times has been there a few times now, and I think the big issue, though, is that most of the time it just doesn't end up where most Americans actually do view the news. I don't have a percentage to drop here during this interview, but I know that fewer people get their news from the internet than the combination of newspapers and print and watching television, and there's really no mention of this case at all.
You said about the judge. She has nothing to compare with. This has never happened before with the way it's happening. So really, Bradley Manning is out there. The judge is out there. Everyone that's involved with the case is kind of out there in a land that they have never been to before. And on one hand, that may help the man, but on the other hand, it's a very dangerous place to be in, don't you think?
Yes, because if you're the judge and you were in the military and you want to be the judge for future cases, to continue to be the judge who heads and runs a courtroom just to hear future cases, you're likely to err on the side of caution and come down on the side of the government when you have doubt. When you're not so sure what to do, you're not likely to find that Manning, if you think he has good intentions or good faith, that is likely to not matter or factor in, because you're going to say to yourself, well, there are these rules, there are these guidelines, maybe nothing bad happened, maybe nobody was hurt and there wasn't any damage, but that doesn't mean that something couldn't have happened, and what if something did, and that's going to factor in your decision. It could be quite a harsh outcome for Bradley because of what you're hinting at here.
Is the prosecution still presenting their case, or did the defense get their chance yet?
Well, so, and maybe this is sort of why you haven't heard about it so much, is that we are still in the pre-trial phase.
Okay.
And it haven't gotten to trial yet. So I'll give the media just a bit of a pass yet. But now we've been having some really incredible hearings that have made some good headlines, and so in that sense, I can't excuse the fact that more of the American public do not know, they don't know what has been happening. But we have the trial scheduled for June, and that's when it'll be happening. And everything up to this point has been other, I'll call them irregularities. That sounds like a pretty, sanitized government term, but basically he's been in confinement now, pretrial confinement, for nearly 1,000 days since he's been arrested. And that is a remarkable aspect of this case. He was also held in Quantico Marine Brig and found in a ruling a couple of weeks ago that the government unlawfully punished him when he was confined, and he was subjected to treatment to where he actually was awarded 112 sentencing days credit if he is convicted. So that's how many days sentence would be reduced. Of course, it really doesn't matter if you end up being convicted to life without parole. You're not going to have your sentence reduced. But the main thing is that it has been concluded by a judge that he was mistreated by officers when he was held in this brig. And so he's gone through a lot. And this is what we've been hearing in the courtroom. And there's been different maneuverings, and the case involves more classified information than any military justice case in history, and that's been an obstacle and been part of what is delayed getting to trial. And we've been hashing this out, and it's a very important case. I don't think it's wrong to say that there should be more media interest, even though we haven't gone to trial yet.
Is these hearings that are taking place, is this the place where they're deciding what's in and what's going to be out?
Yes, yeah. That's the process here right now of the government bringing motions so that the defense has a limit to what they can argue during trial, and the defense bringing motions for Bradley, to say Bradley's speedy trial rights have been violated, or Bradley was mistreated in pretrial confinement. All these different motions being brought trying to get charges dismissed. This is what the defense has been doing, and then the government has had their own motions to try to prepare for trial and control what the defense can say.
Did I read somewhere just today that they're not allowing, what am I looking for? Good things that he's done? Is that the right term or right phrase?
Yes, this is what I wrote about. I wrote about this thing, and the government introduced a motion to make it so the defense couldn't argue or talk about his motives during the trial. So basically that amounts to whether you had a good faith or good intentions when you released the information, it doesn't matter. The judge shouldn't get to hear that because it isn't relevant. And she happened to agree. And now it should be said that typically motive isn't a part of trial. You bring that in during sentencing, and it can help if you're found to have had good intentions or you weren't intending to harm anybody. That might reduce the amount of time you do in jail. However, the government did bring this motion. It shows that they were, in fact, worried that if this were allowed into the trial, it would make it difficult for them to bring their case.
How does he look?
He looks pretty well for somebody who has been in pretrial confinement for nearly 1,000 days. There's no interactions between him and the press, and I just see him sitting at the table, at the defensive table, and we got to hear testimony from him before the year was over last year, and he sounded like a smart, intelligent person, and his ability to think clearly was still intact despite being in jail for as long as he had been, and undergoing some of the treatment that he experienced at Quantico. He still was very smart and articulate when he was speaking. So I think he's doing pretty well, especially for someone who faces the possibility of never being outside of prison again, before he dies.
When they're overreaching, do you think that there's any chance at all that he could plead down and maybe see the light of day again?
Yeah, it's going to depend a lot on the skill of his lawyer. His lawyer's name is David Coombs, and he's tried to put forward what they would consider to be acceptable, and I think it's somewhere around being willing to take an agreement where he would do like 20 years in prison based on the different violations of military code.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been some hint and indication that Manning would accept violating the military codes. But then there are these other charges. This is where we get to overreach. There are these federal charges tacked on in addition to violating military codes that they are just not ready to accept these allegations of espionage or violating the Espionage Act, of aiding the enemy, and then there's other charges against him of violating a computer crime statute by exceeding his authorized access to a computer. And these things are charges they don't want to plead guilty to because they don't feel there's any basis or evidence for them.
Wow. Fascinating. It's quite different when we read about this, what little bit I've been able to read lately, and actually talk to someone that's been there in the proceedings and watching this thing go on. It reminds me of a grandma used to sit in her rocking chair and have them big needles, and she was crocheting and so on and so forth, and she'd have the yarn. I guess it was the yarn and the balls on the floor, and they'd be there. But it reminds me of a great big ball of yarn that's not rolled properly. It's just all twisted and interwoven and hooked up, and it just seems like this thing is a real big mess. Is that the way you could describe it?
I think it is, and I don't like to talk about myself a lot, but if I could just say that it is quite a task to communicate what is going on to people, to the public,
Mm-hmm.
and make it clear why this is important, why this is significant, because as you can gather from speaking to me, there's a lot of really intense and confusing, and some of it is very legalese, and some of it is very hard to decipher. You gotta take a lot of time to pull the different, as you're saying, to go on, you might as well pull the different yarns apart and try to get a handle on what it is that is happening. And I think that the people who have been following it all along, most of them, the journalists, reporters, have done a really good job of reporting the headlines that I think people should see. I'll even credit some of the mainstream reporters you think might sometimes be covering for the government a little too much. I think that they've actually done a pretty good job of saying, this is what people need to know from the court today, and then putting it out there so that people can have
Wow. I can only imagine what that young man, I can only imagine. There's no way that I can even begin to think of what's been going on in his head all these days, being confined, under the pressure, under the gun, and still able to function and speak relatively well with other people. It is fascinating. Kevin, you have done us a great service tonight, my man, and I really, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing these things with us. I always tell our audience we like to have guests that are thought-provoking, and you have caused us to think, and I think that's half the battle, if we can just start thinking. But I really, really appreciate. Give us your website again.
Yeah. This reporting, this regular reporting on stories like Aaron Swartz and Bradley Manning can be found at Fire, F-I-R-E, Dog, D-O-G, L-A-K-E, firedoglake.com. And I post there regularly covering all these different stories that relate to the sort of things we've been talking about for the show.
Wow, there's so much that we could talk about. I hope that you'll come back again and spend some more time with us. Will you do that?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's been great talking.
Thank you, and I know you're a very, very busy man, and I really appreciate the way that you've taken time to lay it down so us lay people could understand exactly what's going on. Thank you, Kevin. God bless you, buddy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. There, ladies and gentlemen, very, like Ari Johnson used to say on Laughing, very interesting indeed. My goodness gracious. That's going to cause me to... I'll be back in 30 seconds. That's what it's going to cause me to do. Hey, we played this the other night. We're going to play it again. The Leprechaun.
There's a leprechaun in my head. I wish that I were dead, for I don't think I'll ever let me be. He tempts me with his gold, and if I were e'er so bold, I'd strangle him and leave him in the street. And then he says to me, you're no Irish laddie, you call that thing a harp. But each time I share the lore that I am learning, he hides his head while my friends they chant. La-tita dilly dida, la-tita tita, la-tita dilly dilly die. Oh, la-tita dilly dida, la-tita tita, la-tita dilly dilly die. There's a leprechaun in my room, he swats me with a broom, that's the reason I forget the words of the song. Oh, he shows a four-leaf clover before my song is over. He's buried in a bowl of Lucky Charms. And then he says to me, you're no Irish laddie, you call that thing a harp. But each time I share the lore that I am learning, he hides his head while my friends they chant. La-ta-tita dilly-dita, la-ta-tita-tita, la-ta-tita dilly-dilly-die. Oh, la-ta-tita dilly-dita, la-ta-tita-tita, la-ta-tita dilly-dilly-die. There's a leprechaun on the floor, he says that I'm a bore. His eyes begin to glaze and he starts to yawn. Oh, he lays on down to sleep, I can see when I am peeping, he's watching me with envy inside. And then he says to me, you're no Irish laddie, you call that thing a harp. But each time I share the lore that I am learning, he hides his head while my friends they chant. La-ta-tita dilly-dita, la-ta-tita-tita, la-ta-tita dilly-dilly-die. Oh, la-ta-tita dilly-dita, la-ta-tita-tita, la-ta-tita dilly-dilly-die. on the hill, and I know his gold is there, so I grab him by the neck, but he gets away. Well, the pot's too heavy, he giggles, so I pinch me just a little, and he thinks I'm full as I run away. And then he says to me, you're an Irish laddie, and you call that ting a harp. But each time I share the lore that I am learning, he hides his hair while my friends they chant. La-ta-tee-da diddly-dee-da, la-ta-tee-da-tee-da, la-ta-tee-da diddly-diddly-die. Oh, la-ta-tee-da diddly-dee-da, la-ta-tee-da-tee-da, la-ta-tee-da diddly-diddly-die. And then he says to me, you're an Irish laddie, you call that ting a harp. But each time I share the lore that I am learning, he lifts his head and he sings along. La-ta-tee-da diddly-dee-da, la-ta-tee-da-tee-da, la-ta-tee-da diddly-diddly-da. Oh, la-ta-tee-da diddly-dee-da, la-ta-tee-da-tee-da, la-ta-tee-da diddly-diddly-da. Oh, la-ta-tee-da diddly-dee-da, la-ta-tee-da-tee-da, la-ta-tee-da diddly-diddly-da. Oh, la-ta-tee-da diddly-dee-da, la-ta-tee-da-tee-da, la-ta-tee-da diddly-diddly-da.
All right. They're cheering. They're cheering for the Leprechaun song. You go with your bad selves. Yeah. Hey, we want to thank our guest, Kevin Goszlota, who writes for the firedoglake.com. Firedoglake.com. You want some good reading, go there. Go there. My goodness. And he's covering this pretrial hearing of Bradley Manning there in Fort Meade, and I've been reading his articles. He is doing a fantastic job. You know, ladies and gentlemen, and young people that are listening, have you ever thought for 1 second that if we didn't have people like Kevin informing us of what is really taking place, what's going on, or we didn't have broadcasters informing us of what's going on, we would be, we'd be in the dark. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's bad enough the way it is, because there's a lot of people that just don't think. They don't know how to think on their own anymore. But he's doing a tremendous job covering this pretrial hearing. There's other articles on there, so go there and read all about it. firedoglake.com, and it'll open your eyes, and it'll cause your brain to start cranking. You know what I mean? It'll cause it to start producing thoughts, and thoughts we need to think. That's why it's producing thoughts. That was very interesting. I hope we can have him back again someday soon. That was, I like that. I like that. Now, I was going to say something, Charlie, but you're standing over there. You're standing over there with your hands on your hip, your hat on backwards, and you got your panties in a wad. What's wrong with you? Yeah? Right. Well, Charlie, I had to say what I had to say because I was supposed to say what I had to say. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying it. I know you like this song. All right, Charlie likes this song. I don't know why. You know, Charlie being a wiener dog and all. He likes this song, and he's got an itchy finger to push that button over there on the soundboard. So go ahead, Charles. Push the button so we can hear Working Like a Dog.
I tried to be cool at obedience school, but my instincts are so strong that I failed. I didn't understand all of those commands, and I stuck my nose under every tail. When I'm home alone, tired of chewing on a bone, I see what I can dig out of the trash. If my stomach's had too much, I hack it right back up, sit around and scratch my flea bite rash.
Go, Charlie.
Comes on suddenly, the urge to take a pee on the carpet in the center of the den. A circle nice and bright, golden yellow on white. Every new rug must be broken in. Working like a dog, working like a dog. Check the litter box for a pecan log. Shedding lots of hair, drooling like a slob. I wag my tail off, I'm working like a dog. I finally get out of the house. I hear my master shout, but it's my only chance to cruise the neighborhood. I find a dead chipmunk, Chanel number skunk, and I roll in it till I smell really good. I come back from that run, sleeping in the sun, chasing after bitches in my dreams. But then I realize, much to my surprise, Lassie's not the hottie that she seems. Working like a dog, working like a dog, sitting around in my fragrant fog, eating up kibbles, living high on the hog. People call me bourgeois, but I'm working like a dog. Well, there's water in the bowl, but it's not very cold, and the water in the toilet has more taste. I have this little trick where I give myself a lick and then I jump up and kiss my master's face. When company's invited, I get real excited. I pant and crank the action up a notch. I break a little wind and watch them jump out of their skin when I stick my big wet nose right in their crotch. Working like a dog, working like a dog. Come on a little closer, honey, I'll give your leg a hug. I'm just trying to score a little belly rub. Well, I'm a big love hog, I'm working like a dog. Yeah, I'm a big love hog, I'm working like a dog.
Ah, you should have seen Charlie. Charlie the Wiener. He left the sound room, went out onto the dance floor, and I mean, he was cutting it up. You go, Charlie. He was getting all bent out of shape at me. Look, everybody likes that song. He's getting all bent out of shape at me because he wanted to play that song, and I was over here lip tripping, and I don't know what he'd have done if I wouldn't have seen him out of the corner of my eye. I mean, he was over there. He was hot. He likes that song. I don't know why, because, you know, he's a wiener dog and all. But we love you, Charlie. We love you. Hey, tomorrow night, listen to me. Tomorrow night, we are going to have the Ladybugs on here. That's right. We are going to have the Ladybugs, a rock and roll lady band, girls band, rock and roll girls band. The Ladybugs. The Ladybugs. Now listen. Go to the ladybugsmusic.com, the ladybugsmusic.com, and there you can read it all about it. And they tell us it's a cross between South Park and Schoolhouse Rock. Meet the Ladybugs teaches tolerance with a healthy dose of toilet bowl humor. The series follows rock and roll girl group, the Ladybugs, on their journey toward music superstardom, performing educational children's music about controversial topics. With songs like Daddy, Please Don't Drink and Drive, and Sugar is Poison, the Ladybugs are in a constant battle with authority figures who think their music is inappropriate for kids. Now, I listen to some of these little tunes. In fact, they've got an animated gig going on. Let me see if I can find it here. Lyrics, blah, blah, contact, sign your YouTube videos, let me click on that. I watched some of the videos while he's singing. Here's one video for The Creepy Man. It teaches kids to stand up to pedophiles, parental advisory. And they have one that, Sugar is Poison, that teaches kids about healthy eating. Again, parental advisory. Contains the word poo. Thought you might want to know that. Then they have a video for their song Puppies. It's a song that teaches kids where babies come from. I have to listen to that one. And then they have a song about litter bugs. That's pretty cool. Well, you're a guest on the Okra Show. I'm trying to find out where they're at, but they have an animated gig going on here on the internet, and I'll put it up tomorrow, where I'm not stumbling and can't talk right. That's what I'm trying to say. That's all there is to it. Just because I cuss.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Central AMT 4-3, we got a punt.
Roger on the punt 4-3. Stabilize and transport.
Get the punt pillows in the butt Velcro. You're going to be okay.
Oh my! That happened just now out there in the in the parking lot. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll wait for you. I don't know what was so funny. All right. There, you had. Oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, something has just come down upon. Or maybe it's lifted. Maybe it's done. Yeah. No. I've seen this before. Something has fallen down upon these people. It just overtakes them. Maybe they're done now. Okay. Great. Man, I was getting worried there for a minute. Hey, we got a great guest tonight. Tell somebody to listen to the show. They'll be glad they did. then the airplane came and took them away, I guess. Or they fell off the end altogether. Every one of them at the same time. Boom. Gone. I have to look for them. Charlie, we'll look for them after the show, okay? And we'll get Wilbur. Yeah. We'll get Wilbur the window licker. I mean the window fixer. I mean the window, we'll get Wilbur to do it. Yeah. But don't let him get close to that window because he'll fall out. I want to say a great big hello to my good friend, my buddy Lou Balls, who is in the chat room. And I'll tell you what, he is just a prince of a man. And we're going to get hooked up here. And we don't know exactly when, but we'll work on it. And we're going to meet someplace between here and there. And we're going to put us a show on. And we're going to eat. Yeah, we're going to eat. I might have told you before, but I'll tell you again. He sends me all these pictures, like when he eats at Rocco's and different places. He'll send me these pictures of all this good food. Man, I'm telling you what. Yummy, yummy, yummy. He sent me one of was a cheeseburger, hamburger, and pickles. I got the pickles. He said I could have the pickles. I appreciated that. I wished he'd share his hamburger or cheeseburger with me. But anyways, it's almost like you can smell the food coming off of the computer screen. You know what I'm saying? And man, it's bacon and eggs and I mean, it is just scrumptious or whatever that scrumptious or whatever that word is. I don't know what that word is. Oh, speaking of food, I've got to do this. It's been a while. Probably like 2 or 3 days, but I've got to do it. My favorite song.
Here we are at my favorite place, where they make sandwiches as you order them. It's a sandwich song, sing along. Sandwiches for everyone. The hardest part of making it's deciding on ingredients. I wish I could make up my mind.
Yeah, hurry up, I'm hungry, come on.
But they got white or wheat or rye or pumpernickel, whole wheat, half wheat, 12 grain or pumpernickel, Italian, French loaf, gluten-free, pumpernickel, crust on, crust off, crust on, crust off the sandwich. It's sandwich song, sing along. Sandwiches for everyone. The hardest part of making it's deciding on ingredients. I wish I could make up my mind.
Just order something.
But I want brown mustard, yellow mustard, ranch, oil, and vinegar, 2 kinds of mayonnaise, olives, and banana peppers, peanut butter, cucumbers, pickles, and Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts?
Yeah, baby! Crust on, crust off, crust on, crust off the sandwich. It's sandwich song, sing along. Sandwiches for everyone. The hardest part of making it's deciding on ingredients. I wish I could make up my mind. Oh, look at all the cheese. I like Swiss cheese, provolone, pepper jack, American, mozzarella, sharp cheddar, gotta, apricot, string cheese, yes please, melt a little Gouda. Gouda! Crust on, crust off, crust on, crust off the sandwich. It's sandwich song, sing along. Sandwiches for everyone. The hardest part of making it's deciding on ingredients. I wish I could make up my mind.
You know, you are really irritating.
Hey, what about meat?
I'm a vegetarian.
Oh, too bad. They got turkey, ham, meatballs, bologna, salami, roast beef, tuna fish, chicken, and pastrami. Bacon, 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 bacon. And for people like you, try the teriyaki tofu. Crust on, crust off, crust on, crust off, sandwich. It's sandwich song, sing along. Sandwiches for everyone. The hard part of making it is deciding on ingredients. I wish I could make up my mind.
Hey, did you bring any money?
I got 50 cents.
Let's go get a gas station corn dog.
Okay.
They forgot to push the door. They ran through the door. They forgot to push it open. Oh, I'll tell you what lunkheads. I lost my train of thought. I lost my whole train. Hey, maybe you're a first-time listener and you've never heard McCoffin Dude. He's McCoffin Dude friend. We got to do something for this cop because he is really. I'm talking. He is really hurting. So if you never heard him before, here he is, and if you've heard him before, well, we've got one name so far. I think it was Fred, or was it Peter? No, I think it was Fred. But anyhow, here's my Coffin Man dude. I love that. I really do. I love that. That is my Coffin Man do. Lou said maybe someday I could become an honorary member of the Funny Farm. Lou, you're in, bud. You've been in. You just didn't know it. Of course, it happens like that sometimes. And then he said, yes. Yeah, you've been in, Lou. I mean, just your room's all ready. It's not. We got a flower pot on the windowsill for you. It's cool. You're in. You've been in. And Brenda Groom, she is the chief cook. You'll get to know her pretty quick, I'll bet. And she'll make you up some of them pretty eggs and bacon and all that good stuff. So don't you fret, bud. You are in. You are really, really in. You'll even get to meet Cindy, the chief psychiatrist. She's a trip. She's got the best shocking machine in the world. It really, really works. Wow. Hey, tomorrow night, don't forget, tomorrow night, the Ladybugs Rock and Roll Girls Band. And they got a gig on the internet, and we'll tell you all about it. We'll put it up on our pages and so on and so forth tomorrow. But they'll be with us tomorrow night. It ought to be a real hoot. We'll play some of them songs that teaches kids about this and that and those and these, and we'll get her done. So tomorrow night, one more time, thank you, Kevin, for being here. Kevin Goszlota, man, I'm going to get my tongue twisted up and break the end of it off. Kevin Goszlota for being here tonight. What a wealth of information he gave us. So go to that website, firedoglake.com. That's firedoglake.com. Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to jump up on this puppy and ride him out. No offense, Charlie. No offense. It's been a great day. It's been a great day here. I hope it's been a great day where you're at. We're not going out with our regular old song. We're going to go out with Nostalgia's Fate. You know the one I like. Yeah. Here's what I want you to do. Turn out the light. Before you turn out the light, find your sunglasses. All right, now that you get your sunglasses, put your sunglasses on. Turn out the light. Or you better sit down first. All right. Put your sunglasses on. Okay, got them on? All right. Sit down. That's it. Get comfortable. Somewhere you can really kick back. Now, reach over and turn the light out. And when we leave, once I quit lip tripping, sit there for a few minutes and just get in the groove. You'll relax. It'll get in you and you'll get in it. Okay, everybody in position? All right. Hey, I want you to email me, georgece@comcast.net. That is georgece@comcast.net. Ask us any question you want. Tell us how you're doing, where you're from, and all that good stuff. And for you that have sent the emails, keep them coming. Keep them coming. We answer every one of them. And we thank you for it. georgece@comcast.net. There's a whole lot of love comes to you from the Funny Farm. That's true. I mean that. We care about you. We care about people. And don't forget that. wherever you're at, if it's nighttime, you have a good night. If it's already tomorrow where you're at, you have a great day. But regardless of where you're at, until tomorrow night, same time, same station, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here on the Spreaker Network, Spreaker.com. Tune in for the George Espinlove Show. And we'll put a smile on your face, and we'll try to make you as crazy as the rest of us. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is George Espinlove saying good night, and God bless you real, real good.